Welcome back to Fiction Flux. I know it's been a long time since we explored a brand new fanfiction, but today we're starting something different. What if Deku had a leveling system quirk? A power that grows stronger after every battle, like a game. Let's not waste time and get started. Izuku Midoriya had always believed the world was unfair. Not because heroes existed, not because villains were dangerous, but because he was born without a quirk. At least that's what everyone thought. Izuku stood outside the entrance gate of Aldra Middle School, staring quietly at the ground while the voices of his classmates echoed around him. Hey look, it's Deku. Still quirkless. Just give up already. Bakugo's laughter rang louder than the rest. You think someone like you can become a hero? The words hit harder than the punches he had taken before. Izuku clenched his fists. But he didn't reply. Because deep down, he had already heard those words 1,000 times. Quirkless, useless, hopeless. That night, Izuku sat alone in his room, flipping through the pages of his hero notebook. Every page was filled with notes about heroes. Their quirks, their fighting styles, their weaknesses. His dream was simple. One day he would stand beside them. But dreams don't change reality. And reality said one thing. He had no power. Izuku sighed and closed the notebook. Maybe Kaken was right. The room was quiet. The streetlights outside flickered softly through the window. Izuku lay down on his bed and stared at the ceiling. Then suddenly, a strange blue light flashed in front of his eyes. Izuku jumped up. What? A transparent screen appeared in the air. Floating, glowing, like something from a video game. System INITILIZING. Izuku blinked rapidly. Am I dreaming? The screen flickered again. Welcome, host. Izuku Midoriya. Quirk status ACTIVATD. Izuku's heart started racing. Quirk activated. Another message appeared. Hero system online. Level 1. Strength 5. Speed 5. Intelligence 9. New skill unlocked. Analysis. Izuku stared at the screen in disbelief. A system. The words barely left his mouth before another notification appeared. First quest available. Quest prove your courage. Objective save someone in danger. Reward +1 level. Izuku's brain froze. Wait, quests. But before he could process anything, a loud explosion echoed outside. Boom! Izuku rushed to the window. Down the street, smoke rose into the sky. People were screaming. A villain attack. Izuku's heart pounded. Normally he would stay back, because without a quirk he couldn't help. But the system screen flashed again. Quest active. Time limit 5 minutes. Izuku swallowed nervously. You want me to fight a villain? The system didn't respond. But the timer continued counting down. 0458. 0457. 0456. Izuku clenched his fists. Fine. If this was really his quirk, then maybe this was his chance. For the first time in his life, Izuku Midoriya ran toward danger instead of away from it. As he turned the corner, the scene in front of him froze his body. A giant sludge villain had trapped someone inside its body. A familiar voice screamed. KACCHIN. Bakugo struggled helplessly inside the monster. Heroes surrounded the area but couldn't get close. The sludge villain was too unstable. One wrong move could suffocate Bakugo instantly. Izuku's heart pounded. This was the same moment. The moment that changed everything in the original timeline. But this time, something was different. The system window flashed again. New quest update. Save Katsuki Bakugo. Difficulty high. Reward +2 levels. Izuku's breathing became heavy. So this is my first mission. The heroes shouted warnings. Kids, stay back. But Izuku stepped forward. Because for the first time, he wasn't powerless anymore. The system screen appeared again. Skill available. Analysis. Izuku activated it instinctively. Suddenly, information flooded his vision. Sludge villain. Level 5. Weak point core mass CNTR. Izuku's eyes widened. It's showing me how to beat him. The villain roared as Bakugo struggled inside. Time was running out. Izuku clenched his fists. Then let's try this. And in that moment, the future greatest hero in the world took his first step toward leveling up. Because from now on, every battle would make him stronger, and every victory would bring him closer to becoming the most powerful hero alive. But neither Izuku, nor the heroes watching him, realized something terrifying about the system. Because hidden deep inside the interface, a locked skill quietly waited. A skill that would only unlock when Izuku reached level 10. Shadow Command. And when that skill finally activated, the line between hero and monster might disappear forever. Izuku didn't think. He moved. The heroes shouted behind him. "Kid, stop!" But Izuku had already jumped forward. The sludge villain roared as the small green-haired boy ran straight toward it. "You idiot!" Bakugo shouted from inside the sludge. "You're going to die." But Izuku's eyes were focused. Not on fear. Not on the monster. On the glowing weak point his system had revealed. Core mass detected. Target locked. Izuku grabbed a broken piece of wood lying on the street. His hands trembled. He had never fought a villain before. But the system screen flashed again. Skill AC2AVATED. Analysis. Reaction speed increased. Suddenly the monster's movements felt slower. Izuku dashed forward. The sludge villain laughed. A weak little human thinks he can save someone. The monster lunged, but Izuku slipped past its attack. Straight toward the glowing center. "This is for KACCHAN." He slammed the wooden plank directly into the core. Boom! The sludge villain exploded apart as the core destabilized. At that exact moment, a massive gust of wind crashed into the street. Detroit smash. The air pressure blasted the remaining sludge away. Dust filled the street. When it cleared, All Might stood in the center of the road. The symbol of peace. The heroes rushed forward quickly to restrain the weakened villain. But All Might wasn't looking at them. He was staring at Izuku, the small boy who had just attacked a villain without hesitation. Izuku stood there breathing heavily. Then, ding, a familiar sound echoed in his head. Level UP. Level 2. Level 3. New skill unlocked. Minor regeneration. Izuku's eyes widened. It worked. The system had rewarded him. All Might walked toward him slowly. "Young man." His deep voice echoed through the street. "Why did you run toward that villain?" Izuku scratched his head nervously. "I didn't really think about it." Bakugo, now freed, glared at him. "You stupid nerd." But All Might's expression changed. Because Izuku's answer was the same answer every true hero gave. "You moved without thinking to save someone." All Might smiled. "You already have the heart of a hero." Izuku's chest tightened slightly, because those words meant more to him than anything else. But before the moment could continue, the system window flashed again. New quest available. Enter UA High School. Reward rare skill. Izuku blinked. A rare skill. The system continued. Warning. Upcoming challenges detected. Danger level high. Izuku frowned slightly. Danger. But the message vanished before he could read more. Far away, hidden inside a dark underground laboratory, a scientist stared at a screen showing surveillance footage from the battle. The footage zoomed in on Izuku, then on the strange blue interface glow that appeared near his eyes. The scientist smiled. "So the system has chosen a host." A tall figure stepped out of the shadows behind him. "Interesting." The scientist turned. "All for one." The villain looked at the footage carefully. A quirk that allows someone to grow stronger endlessly. His eyes narrowed slightly. That boy could become very dangerous. The scientist asked quietly, "Should we eliminate him now?" All for One chuckled softly. No, he leaned back in his chair. Let him grow. Because the stronger Izuku became, the more valuable his power would be. And when the time finally came, All for One intended to take that system for himself. Meanwhile, Izuku Midoriya walked home under the evening sky. He had gained 2 levels, a new skill, and the possibility of entering UA. But the system suddenly appeared again. Secret condition met. Host SHOWED true heroic intent. Bonus reward unlocked. Izuku's eyes widened. Bonus reward. The screen glowed brighter. Hidden skill unlocked. Hunter's instinct. Izuku felt a strange surge of energy inside his body. His senses sharpened. His muscles felt lighter, stronger, faster. He looked down at his hands in disbelief. This system might actually make me strong. And this was only the beginning. Because once Izuku Midoriya entered UA High School, the leveling system would begin giving him something far more dangerous than quests. Boss battles. The next morning, Izuku woke up before his alarm. His eyes opened slowly, but something felt different. For a second, he thought he was still dreaming. Then the blue screen appeared again. Good morning, host. Level 3. Strength 8. Speed 7. Intelligence 10. Izuku immediately sat up in bed. So it wasn't a dream. The events from yesterday rushed back into his mind. The villain, All Might, the system. He quickly jumped out of bed and looked into the mirror. At first glance, he looked the same. Messy green hair, freckles, but his body felt lighter, stronger. His muscles responded faster. Did the stats really increase? To test it, Izuku ran down the stairs toward the kitchen. Usually he would trip on the last step. But this time, he landed perfectly. Whoa! His reaction speed had definitely improved. His mother looked up from the kitchen. Oh, you're up early today, Izuku. He smiled nervously. Yeah, Mom. But suddenly, ding, new quest available. Izuku froze. The system screen appeared again. Daily quest. Training begins. Objective: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 5 km run. Reward plus 200 exp. Izuku blinked. Daily quests too. But before he could panic, another message appeared. Tip: consistent training increases stat growth. Izuku clenched his fists slightly. So the system wanted him to train. Just like a game character grinding levels. For the first time in years, Izuku felt excited about training. Mom, I'm going out for a run. Inko looked surprised. So early? Izuku nodded. I have a lot to do. 1 hour later, Izuku collapsed on the ground near the beach. Sweat covered his face. That was brutal. But the moment he finished the last push-up. Ding! Daily quest completed. X plus 200. Level up. Level 4. New skill unlocked. Danger sense low level. Izuku sat up immediately. Danger sense. Suddenly a strange feeling spread through his body. Like invisible threads connecting his mind to the environment. He could feel movements around him. Footsteps, wind, even distant vibrations. This system is insane. But before he could process everything, a loud voice echoed behind him. Well, you look energetic today. Izuku turned around quickly and froze. All Might stood there, in his thin form, drinking from a soda can. Hey, All Might. All Might smiled. Yesterday you ran into danger without hesitation. That's the kind of spirit heroes need. Izuku scratched his head awkwardly. I just acted without thinking. But suddenly, danger sense AC2AVATD. A sharp signal hit his brain. Izuku looked around immediately. Something's wrong. All Might raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Then, boom, an explosion echoed from the nearby street. People screamed. A truck had flipped over after being attacked by a group of small-time villains. Izuku's eyes widened. The system screen appeared instantly. New quest. Stop the street villains. Difficulty medium. Reward +1 level. Izuku swallowed. Already. All Might noticed his reaction. Are you sensing danger? Izuku hesitated. Something like that. All Might's eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting. Very interesting. Izuku took a deep breath. Then I'll handle it. He started running toward the explosion. All Might watched him carefully. Because something about the boy felt different today. Stronger, faster, almost like he was evolving. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the street where the villains were attacking, a man watched the chaos calmly. His eyes glowed faintly red. So the system has begun leveling him. He smiled slowly. Because the next enemy Izuku Midoriya would face was not a random villain. It was a test, and if Izuku survived it, he would unlock something far more dangerous than a simple skill. The system's first boss battle. Izuku sprinted toward the chaos. Smoke filled the street ahead while civilians ran in every direction. His heart pounded loudly in his chest. But something inside him felt different now. Calmer, more focused. The system interface hovered faintly in the corner of his vision. Danger sense active. ENEMIS detected. 4. Level range 2-3. Izuku slowed his breathing. Okay. 4 villains. Stronger than normal criminals, but not impossible. When he reached the street corner, the scene came into view. A flip truck blocked the road, while 4 masked villains looted boxes from the back. One of them held a metal pipe. Another had a flame quirk flickering in his hands. A third one had enlarged arms that looked like stone. The fourth stood in the middle of the street laughing while civilians ran. Izuku stepped forward. Hey! The villains turned. Then they laughed. Look what we got here. A kid. The stone-arm villain cracked his neck. You lost or something. Izuku clenched his fists. Normally this would have terrified him. But now the system screen appeared again. Analysis AC2IVATD. Villain 1. Level 3. Quirk Flame Burst. Villain 2. Level 2. Quirk Stone Arms. Villain 3. Level 2. Quirk ENHANCED Speed. Villain 4. Level 3. Quirk Impact Shock. Izuku's mind raced. 4 enemies. But their levels were close to his. This was exactly like a game battle. The flame villain stepped forward. You should run, kid. Izuku didn't move. Instead, he took a deep breath. No, the villain scoffed. Then don't blame us. Flames burst forward. Izuku moved instantly. His increased speed stat kicked in as he dodged the attack. The flame blast scorched the pavement behind him. Fast, one villain shouted. Izuku dashed forward and slammed his fist into the flame villain's stomach. The man collapsed instantly. Ding! Enemy defeated. X plus 120. Izuku's eyes widened. It actually works. But the other 3 villains rushed him immediately. The stone-arm villain swung his giant fist. Izuku barely ducked in time. The shockwave cracked the asphalt. Danger sense flashed violently in his mind. Attack from left. Izuku jumped sideways. The speed villain shot past him like a blur. Too slow. Izuku grabbed the man's arm and threw him into the truck. Crash. Another exp notification appeared. But the final villain stepped forward calmly. The one with the impact shock quirk. He smiled. You're not normal. Izuku felt the system react. Warning. Target power spike detected. The villain slammed his fist into the ground. Boom. A shockwave blasted across the street. Izuku flew backward and slammed into a wall. Pain shot through his body. His vision blurred. The villain walked slowly toward him. Now I see. You're the kid from yesterday. Izuku's heart skipped. How do you know that? The villain chuckled. Because someone paid us to test you. Izuku froze. Test? but the system suddenly flashed red. Boss encounter detected. Sub-boss impact villain. Level 5. Izuku slowly stood up. Blood trickled down his forehead. So this is the boss battle. The villain cracked his knuckles. You're tougher than expected. But this ends now. He punched the ground again. Another shockwave blasted toward Izuku. This time Izuku didn't dodge. He ran straight into it. The villain's eyes widened. What? Izuku jumped forward. Danger sense guided his movements perfectly. He dodged the shockwave at the last second and slammed his fist directly into the villain's chest. Boom! The impact villain flew backward and crashed into the truck. The street fell silent. Izuku stood there breathing heavily. Then, ding! Sub-boss defeated. Level up. Level 5. Level 6. New skill unlocked. Combat instinct. Izuku blinked in disbelief. 2 levels. But before he could celebrate, a slow clap echoed behind him. Izuku turned around. All Might stood at the end of the street, watching the entire fight. Young Midoriya. His voice was calm, but his eyes were serious. You just defeated 4 villains. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck nervously. Yeah, but All Might's gaze sharpened slightly, because something about the way Izuku fought looked less like a beginner, and more like someone who had already fought many battles before. Meanwhile, far away in the shadows of the city, a screen showed the entire fight. The scientist smiled slowly. Level 6 already. Behind him, All for One watched silently. Good, because the faster Izuku leveled up, the sooner he would unlock the system's most dangerous ability. The one hidden deep in the interface. The one labeled Shadow Army. All Might looked down at the unconscious villains scattered across the street. Then he looked back at Izuku. Young Midoriya. His voice was calm, but there was a hint of curiosity in it. You handled 4 villains alone. Izuku scratched the back of his head nervously. Well, I just reacted. All Might studied him carefully, because something about that fight didn't look normal. The way Izuku moved, the way he predicted attacks, the way he adapted during battle. It looked almost like he had already fought dozens of fights before. All Might smiled slightly. You have incredible instincts. Izuku forced a small laugh. Something like that. But inside his mind, the system interface appeared again. Combat log updated. Enemies defeated, 4. Sub-boss defeated, 1. Bonus reward available. Izuku's eyes widened. Bonus. The screen flickered. Skill upgrade available. Upgrade danger sense right arrow level 2. Izuku quickly accepted. A strange pulse shot through his body. Suddenly the entire street felt clearer. He could feel movement in every direction. Footsteps, wind, even distant vibrations. His senses had sharpened again. All Might notice the shift immediately. Your aura just changed. Izuku blinked. Aura. But before the conversation could continue, another system notification appeared. New quest unlocked. Prepare for UA entrance exam. Objective reach level 10. Reward rare skill. Izuku froze. Level 10. He was only level 6. Which meant the system expected him to fight more enemies. A lot more. All Might placed a hand on his shoulder. You have the spirit of a hero. Izuku looked up. But spirit alone isn't enough. All Might's expression became serious. If you want to enter UA high school, you must become stronger. Izuku nodded slowly. I will. But deep inside his mind, the system quietly displayed something new. Locked skill. Requirement level 10. Skill name. Shadow extraction. Izuku frowned slightly. Shadow extraction. He didn't understand what that meant. But the system didn't explain further. Meanwhile, inside a dark underground facility, the scientist stared at the screen showing Izuku's stats. Level 6 already. Behind him, All for One stood silently. He's progressing faster than expected. The scientist adjusted his glasses. At this rate, he'll reach level 10 very soon. All for One's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Good, because the moment Izuku unlocked the shadow extraction ability, everything would change. That skill wasn't just another power. It was the system's true purpose. The ability to turn defeated enemies into shadows. An army, a growing one. And if Izuku Midoriya ever learned to control that army, he wouldn't just become the strongest hero. He might become something far more terrifying. A shadow monarch. Meanwhile, Izuku stood on the rooftop of a nearby building, looking over the city lights. His fists clenched slowly. Level 10. If he reached that level, the system promised a rare skill. Something powerful. Something important. Izuku smiled slightly. Then I'll keep leveling up. Because for the first time in his life, Izuku Midoriya finally had the power to chase his dream. But he didn't realize something yet. Every level he gained was slowly pushing him closer to a destiny no hero had ever walked before. Izuku spent the next few days doing exactly what the system demanded. Training, fighting small-time criminals, running across rooftops late at night while the city slept. Each fight gave him a little more experience. Each quest pushed his limits further. The system appeared constantly. Quest completed. X plus 150. Enemy defeated. X plus 90. Level up. Level 7. Izuku leaned against a rooftop wall, breathing heavily. Level 7 already. His body felt different now. Stronger, faster. Even his thinking had changed. During fights, his mind automatically calculated movements, attack angles, and escape routes. It was like the system had turned his brain into a combat computer. But something else had started happening too. The higher his level climbed, the more the system interface changed. More menus appeared. More locked abilities. More mysterious warnings. That night, while Izuku walked home, the system suddenly flashed again. New quest. Hero Candidate Test. Objective: Survive Elite Enemy Encounter. Reward: +1 level. Izuku froze. Elite enemy. He looked around the empty street. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Then, danger sense AC to aviatd. A violent pulse shot through his mind. Izuku spun around. Someone stood at the end of the street. Tall, wrapped in dark clothing. Face hidden behind a mask. The stranger slowly clapped. Well done. Izuku narrowed his eyes. Who are you? The man stepped forward. I was sent to test you. The system screen flashed red. Elite enemy detected. Level 9. Izuku swallowed. Level 9. That was higher than him. The masked man cracked his neck slowly. You've been leveling up nicely. Izuku's eyes widened. How do you know about that? The man didn't answer. Instead, he raised his hand. A black energy wave exploded across the street. Izuku jumped backward just in time. The pavement shattered where he had been standing. That was close. The masked man rushed forward instantly. Izuku barely blocked the punch. The impact sent him sliding across the road. Strong, much stronger than the villains he fought before. The system flashed again. Warning, enemy superior level. Combat strategy advised. Izuku clenched his fists. Then let's level up. He dashed forward again. The fight exploded across the street. Punches, dodges, shockwaves. Izuku's combat instinct skill activated automatically, guiding his movements. But the enemy was still faster. Stronger. Another punch slammed Izuku into a wall. Blood dripped from his lip. The masked man laughed. Is that all? Izuku struggled to stand. Not yet, because the system had started doing something strange. Exp gaining during combat. Level up. Level 8. A sudden surge of strength filled Izuku's body. His speed increased instantly. He dashed forward again. The masked enemy's eyes widened. You leveled up mid-fight. Izuku's fist slammed into his chest. Boom! The man flew backward across the street. But he stood up again. Impressive. Then he smiled. Let's see if you can survive this. Dark energy exploded from his body. Izuku felt the pressure immediately. The system screen shook violently. Warning: critical damage detected. Izuku's vision blurred. His body hit the ground. He couldn't move. The masked man slowly walked toward him. Looks like the test is over. Izuku clenched his teeth. Not yet, because the system suddenly flashed brighter than ever before. Level up. Level 9. New skill ready. Izuku's eyes widened. Now, he stood up slowly. Energy surged through his body. Combat instinct. Danger sense. All his abilities activated at once. He rushed forward. One final punch. Boom! The masked enemy crashed into the pavement and didn't move again. Silence filled the street. Then, quest completed. Elite enemy defeated. Level up. Level 10. Izuku's breathing slowed. Level 10. The system interface appeared again. Bright, powerful, and for the first time. A new menu unlocked. Rare skill available. Unlock skill. Shadow extraction. Izuku hesitated for a second. Let's see what this does. He selected yes. A dark energy pulse spread across the street. The unconscious enemy's shadow suddenly moved. Izuku's eyes widened, because the shadow began rising from the ground, taking shape, forming a dark humanoid figure. The system displayed one final message. Shadow Soldier CRATD. Name unknown. Class Assassin. Izuku stared in disbelief. I just created a Shadow Soldier. Meanwhile, far away in the underground base, All for One smiled. So it has begun. Because Izuku Midoriya had just unlocked the power that would change everything. The ability to build an army from the shadows. And once that army grew large enough, even the strongest heroes in the world might not be able to stop him. The dark figure slowly rose from the pavement. Not the villain himself, but his shadow. It stretched unnaturally across the ground before rising upward like black smoke, taking human form. Izuku stepped back slightly. What is that? The system immediately responded. Shadow Soldier CRATD. Class Assassin. Level 8. The Shadow Soldier kneeled in front of him. Awaiting command, my king. Izuku froze. My king. The words sounded wrong. Strange. Dangerous. He wasn't a king. He just wanted to become a hero. The Shadow Soldier remained kneeling silently. Izuku slowly raised his hand. Stand. The shadow instantly obeyed. Its glowing purple eyes flickered as it stood beside him. Izuku's heart pounded. So every enemy I defeat can become a Shadow Soldier. The system screen appeared again. Confirmed. Shadow Extraction ALLOWS host to build an army. Current SHADOWS 1. Izuku looked at the dark figure beside him. A shadow army. That didn't sound like something a hero should have. But before he could think further, footsteps approached from the other end of the street. Izuku turned. All Might stood there. He had arrived just moments too late to see the battle. But he had seen something else. The Shadow Soldier standing beside Izuku. For a brief moment, All Might's eyes widened. Because that power felt familiar. Too familiar. The Shadow Soldier dissolved back into the ground before anyone else noticed. Izuku quickly rubbed the back of his head. Oh, All Might. All Might studied him carefully. Young Midoriya. His voice was calm, but there was a hint of concern behind it. You've grown stronger in a very short time. Izuku smiled awkwardly. I've been training. All Might nodded slowly, but his instincts told him something deeper was happening. Something unusual. Something powerful. He placed a hand on Izuku's shoulder. The UA entrance exam is approaching. If you truly want to become a hero, you must be ready. Izuku looked up at the sky. The system interface appeared faintly again. Level 10. Current SHADOWS 1. Next quest available. Enter UA High School. Izuku clenched his fists slightly. For the first time in his life, the path to becoming a hero didn't feel impossible anymore. But he didn't realize something yet. Every enemy he defeated, every level he gained, every shadow he created, was slowly pushing him toward a future far more dangerous than he imagined. Because if his shadow army continued to grow, Izuku Midoriya might not just become the strongest hero. He might become the ruler of something far darker, something that even heroes feared. And the world would soon learn the name of that power: the Shadow Monarch. That's it for part 1. Hope you enjoyed this fanfiction. If you want part 2, let's aim for 30 likes on this video. Share your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fiction Flux. Thanks for watching.